Hi guys, it's Charla from That Girl Cooks Healthy. Today I'm gonna show you how to make some gluten-free chicken noodle soup using vegetable noodles. It's delicious, nutritious, and it's great for weight loss and so easy to make. So I cannot wait to show you guys how you can make it too. So let's get to it. So these are the ingredients that you're going to need. You're going to need some chicken. I'm using boneless, skinless chicken thighs because I find that this type of chicken is a lot juicier than chicken breast. But if you want to have your chicken extra lean, then use chicken breast instead. What I normally do with the chicken breast is, the boneless chicken thigh, is that I cut off, or should I say trim off, any of the excess fat, so I make it completely fat free anyway. So just use whichever type of chicken that you want to use for this recipe. I also have some chicken stock. In terms of vegetables, I have, for the noodles, I have courgette, also known as zucchini, depending on what part of the world you're in, but I know it as courgette. So it's just spiralized vegetable noodles, some broccoli, sugar snaps, which is chopped up, celery, bell peppers. I like a combination of red and green, but you can use any color that you want. I have kale. The type of kale that I'm using is, let me see if I can pronounce it. It's Cavallo Nero. So I apologize to any Italians out there. I'm not Italian, so that's my best way of describing that type of kale I'm using. I have olive oil, some onion, garlic, and ginger as the base ingredients. Some Creole seasoning. I'm using homemade Creole seasoning. I have that on my website. Some black pepper and pink salt to taste. And I also have some parsley and thyme as well. So the first thing we need to do is to season the chicken. So I'm doing my chicken noodle soup my way, so I'm going to show you the way that I make it and make it extra flavorsome by, first of all, just grabbing the Creole seasoning, and I'm just going to sprinkle that on the chicken, and then I'm just going to use my hands just to work that in. You don't need to marinate it or leave it to infuse overnight. You can do if you want to, but I just tend to just season the chicken and then use it as part of the next step. So you just want to season the chicken as best as you can, and then we're going to saute, or should I say we're going to sear it next. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add some olive oil to my stock pot. I'm using the same pot throughout the entire recipe, so I'm not changing it up, but you guys, if you want, you can use a frying pan or a skillet instead to sear the meat. So we're just going to sear the meat, so brown the meat first of all, and then we're going to allow it to cook through. So I'm letting you guys know the reason why is because during the cooking stages, you're going to notice that the chicken is going to extract its own juice, particularly if you're using boneless and skinless chicken thighs. If you're using chicken breast, it might not extract that much juice. I don't really use chicken breast these days, so I cannot really remember. I'm just trying to think from the top of my head how it usually is. So anyway, you're going to see that the chicken's going to extract its own juice after several minutes. And I have the heat level at the moment on medium heat, and when the chicken starts to extract its own juice, this is a good thing. You want to seal in that liquid. Do not try to drain it off, nothing like that. You want to just continue to cook. What I do is I increase the heat to high to let that juice evaporate, and it's going to lock in the flavor. You see right now that it's starting to extract its own juices. Just continue to roll with it. Just increase the heat, but make sure that you are still stirring and supervising, or else the chicken will burn. And you just want to continue to cook. It's going to take a little bit of patience here, so you're going to have some patience until that liquid locks in, and it's going to make your meat taste a million times better. So just work with it and persevere until you lock in that liquid. So as you can see now, the chicken hardly has any of the liquid left over, and this is what it looks like, and this is pretty much what you need it to look like before you move on to shredding the chicken. So I've got 2 forks here, and I'm just going to show you guys how I shred the chicken. You don't need the chicken to be extremely shredded, but you want to make sure that you break down most of the pieces. So I'm going to show you guys like the first few minutes of how I shred the chicken, and I'm going to do the rest of it off camera because it is time consuming and you don't really want to be watching me on camera just shredding chicken for a good while. So shred the chicken. You can do it in the stock pot if you want to, or whatever you're using, but make sure you switch it off if you are using it. I just find it easier to just do it in one place, and then I remove it and then set it aside in a dish. So do whatever works for you in terms of how to shred the chicken. So now we're going to build the base of the soup. So I have some olive oil that I've just added to the same stock pot again, and then I'm going to add some onion, garlic and ginger. And once I add those base ingredients, I always call them my base ingredients because I use them in so many of my recipes. If you guys have been following me, you know that the majority of the recipes that I make, particularly stews and curries, I usually add these 3 or at least the 2 of them to the base of my recipes, and it really does make a difference, particularly to soup as well. It's not any different depending on the soup you're making, but for this chicken soup I like to saute the onion, garlic and ginger for a few minutes, just until it's soft and translucent, before moving on to adding the rest of the ingredients. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add my bell peppers. So once I've added those, I'm just going to cook them for a few minutes before moving on to adding the rest of the vegetables and the herbs and the spices. So I'm just going to add the broccoli, the cauliflower, the kale, the thyme, parsley, more Creole seasoning to give it more flavor. I believe that's the only ingredients that I'm just using for now. The soup is not really hot, at least not to me. It does have a little kick to it, but it's not hot. Just for anybody who was wondering, is it a hot recipe? I personally don't think it's hot. It just has a little bit of a kick to it. So now I'm adding my chicken stock to the pot. You want to make sure that you're using quite a large pot. My pot holds about up to 10 cups of liquid, so you want something about that type of capacity. You can use vegetable stock if you want, but I really think it's more complimentary when you use chicken stock for this particular recipe. So I'm just going to use my little spatula just to push down some of the kale. It's going to cook anyway when we put the lid on and allow it to simmer. And you're going to notice that I'm not adding the noodles and the chicken until almost the last stages, and that's because I really want the chicken to hold most of its flavor, its own flavor, and also I don't want the vegetable noodles to be overcooked. So I'm just going to put the lid on now and just let it simmer down till it's tender. So I'm just going to remove the lid now and show you guys what the soup looks like after I've left it on a gentle simmer. And the vegetables are quite soft and tender now. So I'm just going to add some tomato paste to give the soup some color and just a small amount of flavor, so it's not too overpowering with a tomato taste. And once I do that, I'm just going to add the shredded chicken and the vegetable noodles. Like I said to you guys before, I like to add it near to the end stages, so it holds its flavor still, and the vegetable noodles do not become too mushy as well. Also, you'll notice that the vegetable noodles are quite giant in terms of how I spiralize them. You can easily just chop them down if you want your vegetable noodles. They're more manageable if you chop them down anyway, but if you want to leave them big the way I've left them, you can just leave them like that. So whatever you guys prefer to do, it's up to you. So I'm just gonna tuck that down now into the soup as well, and then I'm gonna leave it to simmer for about another, say, 15 or 20 minutes, not too long. So you don't really want to go too long when you add the last vegetables, because these are the last ones before the soup is actually ready. So this is what the soup looks like. Now you can add some salt and pepper if you need to. That's going to depend on the taste of the Creole seasoning and also the vegetable stock. So just do a taste test to test whether or not you need to add salt and pink salt and black pepper. And that's pretty much what the soup looks like, guys. It's great for weight loss. It's also nourishing as well, and it's perfect if you live in a cold ass climate like I do. You're gonna love the soup for those cold days. And it's also going to be complimenting anybody who has a weight loss goal right now. This is the soup to have. It's flavorsome, really delicious, very easy. You can add more vegetables if you want. And thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and the full recipe, I'll leave the link to that so you can see that too.